Why are our villains always in such a bad mood?
Constant dental appointments!
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Bonebreaker wave. It's been a while since I've gotten a whole Legends wave at the same time. And as I've said several times before, that comes down to budget. I just can't afford to get everything anymore. But X-Men and a Reavers Build-A-Figure, that's right up my alley. I don't mind skipping some MCU, I don't mind missing out on Avengers or some other corners of the Marvel Universe, but the X, ooh, that's my steak and potatoes. You put some mutants in a wave, or you give me a whole wave of mutants, and ooh, I need them. In this wave, there is first appearance Sabretooth. Back here we have Siryn. There's Havok, Wolverine, of course. Can't have an X-Men wave without a Wolverine. Back here is Maggott. There's Darwin. And then there's Vulcan, who I'm excited about because, well, I haven't read a lot with Vulcan in it, but it's a new body for Marvel Legends, so I need to give it a test drive. Individual artworks for each character, all looking pretty on the side of the package. And then on the back, you get it even bigger with a bio for each. Down here it lists all the characters, your Build-A-Figure, warning, small parts. What have I told you about putting action figures in your mouth? I said don't do it, didn't I? Didn't I? On the other side, there's those pictures again. On the top, it's X-Men. Of course you're gonna have X's. On the bottom, legalese, barcode. I'm looking through all these and I'm having a hard time picking who I want to open first. How about Wolverine? Mostly because it doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece, but also we've seen this Wolverine body quite a few times already. At this point, it's pretty tried and true. It uses the shoulder pads that we've seen on a couple, I can't even remember which released where, but here's the shoulder pads. I was gonna say it uses that, well, it's hard to tell. The bright yellow's throwing me off. I'm pretty sure this is the same head. And then the claws are those thick, angled ones from the X-Force Wolverine. Other than that, there's a new belt, and I'm very happy for this because there's a lot of customizing potential. That's not to say this is a bad body. In fact, out of a bunch of Wolverines we've gotten from a bunch of different companies, I would say that this is one of my favorites. It's short, it's stocky, it's appropriate for what I think is comic book Wolverine's height and weight. Well, okay, maybe not weight. This figure doesn't have an adamantium skeleton weighing it down. You know what I mean. It is a shame that the hair is kind of sculpted onto the arms, but in this case, it's not painted. Of course, we've seen that before, so it's nothing new, but at the same time, they also brightened up the skin tone, along with this blinding bright yellow. And it's the same up here on the head. It should probably be some stubble because Wolverine's a hairy little bastard, but here the skin tone almost seems thick. That and the black line's kind of rough. But like I said, I got this mostly for customizing potential. Oh wait, I forgot to point out the hot claws. I didn't read the story where Wolverine came back and apparently he could heat up his claws, but it does a nice job of simulating that in plastic form. Got the red that fades out to clear. If you're into this costume, like the old ones, I guarantee you can pull these out and then replace them with whatever claws you want to use. I do like the metallic gold of the buckle with just a bit of red thrown in there. Going over articulation, there is a ball at the top of the neck with a hinge going down. That allows for some nice up, look down, not a lot of tilt, side to side. Butterfly joint goes back, goes forward. Pin in the shoulder plugs into that so you can rotate all the way around. The shoulder pad is pegged on the front and back, so it's also articulated to get out of the way of the shoulder hinge that comes to about right there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow gets slightly past 90. Swivel at the wrist and then hinge in and out. Hinge at the mid-torso, crunches to there. Arcs back. Swivel at the waist, hidden behind that belt. Or I could just move it and show you. There's the cut. Ball coming out to the hip allows for this, and this, and this. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee gets up to about right here. If you push really hard, it gets bing! Swivel at the boot, hidden nicely behind the sculpt detail. The wings on boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, there's a reason that this head pops off, besides the fact that it's a Marvel Legends and you can pretty much pop off all the heads. Also comes with this alternate unmasked, get behind the camera, so try to push! And there's the unmasked head. This is reused from the Amazon Wolverine 5-pack, and it's one of the better open mouth screaming faces. Yelling faces aren't usually my thing, and remember I said that here in about 10-12 minutes. But if this was the only option here, I wouldn't mind, because it's one of the few that I do like. But it's not the only option. There's also this masked head. Wolverine stands about 5 3/4, and like I said, looks appropriately comic book size next to Cyclops and Gambit. And even better next to his usual villains like Omega Red and Sabretooth. And yeah, that's a custom head. I didn't like the open mouth. Next up, let's open up Darwin. Not the most visually interesting of the group, and Honestly, I've probably seen more of Darwin in First Class, the movie, than I have read him in the comics. But it's another figure for the X-Shelf, and I'm always down for that. The body reuses Pizza Spider-Man, which I can't seem to find because there's also been several more Spider-Man since then. Pizza was replaced a long time ago. But Hasbro's also used it for other Spideys, and even more Spideys, and even an Iron Fist, who I have out because he'll reappear here in a minute. And yeah, it's thin, it's lithe, it looks kind of oddball, but at the same time, because of that head and the size of the hands, I don't mind it. Maybe he's using his mutant power right now. Maybe he had to fit down a narrow hallway, or climb through a small tube or an air duct. Plus, it's another body type for the X-Shelf because not a lot of characters there are this thin. The belt is also new. As far as I can tell, it's shaped specifically for this body, and it's got these segments in it with a red X on front. I'm not sure about the hands. Maybe they're just Spidey hands painted flesh tone. But the head is the big draw. That's the eye catcher. Slightly alien-esque, and again, it's because of the look here with the big eyes and the bald head that, I don't know, it works with this body type. It comes off gray alienish. There is some color to the lips and just the stark white. Eyes aren't supposed to be that white. And kind of bleeding over the line, but still not bad. But I never liked the duck feet on this body. Or how about this? He's using his mutant ability to flatten out his feet because he had to walk across some kind of grating that if it was normal size feet, he'd fall through. But I also like the purple, again, bringing another color to the X-Shelf. Articulation, there is a ball joint at the top of the neck with a hinge going down. Lots of up, and that looks weird. You can shift it to where the chin's actually sticking out. And down. And because they left space up inside the skull, there is nice tilt. Side to side, butterfly joint goes back, goes forward, pin out to the shoulder, rotates all the way around. Hinge at the shoulder, very, very tight, but goes 90. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow, ooh, all the way up. Swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. Hinge at the torso. Oh, I don't remember it having that limited a range. Crunch more. Arc. Okay, maybe there's no arc back. Swivel at the waist, again, hidden by the belt. Well, not so much, it's right there, but you can bring it up. Ball coming out to the hip, comes, whoa, forward. I needed the mutant ability to kick this high. Not so much back. Out. Damn, it's a Spider-Man body, so not a lot of out. Swivel at the thigh, double knee. Oh yeah, easy. I was required to kick my own ass to live. Hinge at the ankle goes back, forward, front facing pin for rocker. For accessories, these big old fists pop out. You can pop this other set of hands in, which make them seem even bigger. Again, I think that just plays right into the proportions of the body. Maybe he needed to play a huge guitar. For some reason, he leans to his right. Darwin stands at about 6 1/4, and here he is next to the Jim Lee era Cyclops and Gambit. Next up, let's open Sabretooth. And some mixed emotions here. Not exactly what I think of when I think of first appearance Sabretooth, but at the same time, I'm finding myself liking it way more than I did when I saw the initial promo shots. It's always different once you get it in hand, in the comfort of your own home, in your own lighting, on your own shelves. This is reuse of the Grim Reaper body, which I can't find. It's in a bin somewhere, and I always forget what else uses the Grim Reaper body. But then I remembered there's Cloak, or well, it's an okay mid-size to bigger body, but it also comes with its own proportion problems like come here, Cloak. Like the length of the arms are kind of long. And given the size of the chest, it makes those same arms look a bit thin. Don't get me wrong, that's way more jacked than I am, but it doesn't feel as appropriate with here. And then the size of the legs. Then there's new forearms and boots with the fur, along with new big old clawed hands and open-toed feet. And again, that's not exactly what I think of when I picture first appearance Sabretooth, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense because those claws would rip right through gloves, right? I think the feet and the hands and the face itself takes a lot of inspiration from the Sideshow premium format statue. It has those same exposed digits and the underbite. Yeah, go back. Focus. The problem with the promo shots and even getting it in hand, unless you get really, really close, it's hard to see those bottom teeth jutting up. The hair sculpt should also have some kind of, hair hanging down, but I don't mind this so much, especially with the care they took with the wash. It just brings out all that detail. And it's the same with the fur pieces, although it's backwards. It's like the white is down in the crevices and then the darker color is up on top. Oh, and I forgot to mention this is new too. It plugs into the back. If you didn't want it on there, you can take it off, but it doesn't feel like just a back plug piece because of how nice it lays down here. I thought at first, oh, I gotta glue that down, but no, it stays in place. But that's kind of ugly. I almost wish the fur didn't start until below the articulation point, but I understand why they did it all the way up to here. That sticks out like a sore thumb. Saying all that, it has grown on me, but even then, I still had some customizing to do. What can I say? I couldn't help myself. Plus, I needed extra Build-A-Figure parts to use on my own Bonebreaker for the engine and the body mounting piece. So it worked out. I painted it brown and then dry brushed with the white to keep that color scheme going from this figure, but then tie it together. There's this dark brown, there's this orange. Then I painted across the bottom of the joint, which didn't quite work over here because I articulated it and scraped the paint right off. Then I did a wash to the teeth so I could see what was actually going on there, and it pops it a lot more. I understand what is happening at his mouth hole. And I whited out the eyes, gave it a wash around with the same brown, again, to tie everything together. Articulation, there is a, hey, guess what? There's a ball with a hinge going down into the neck. Gets some nice up, despite there being hair in the back, and bury the chin. Even gets a little tilt. Side to side. Arm rotates all the way around. Hinges, oh, tied again. Get up there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up to there. Swivel at the wrist. Hinges in and out. Ab crunch. Better than Darwin. Also better arc back. Swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip. Goes up, back, and out. Oh. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. So much muscle there. Still impressive though. There's usually a boot swivel on this body, but I guess the fur is glued in place. Hinge of the ankle goes back. Goes forward. Front facing pin for rocker. Sabretooth stands at almost 6.5 inches, which is small compared to the rest of his history in the Marvel Universe. Again, this is first appearance, so he's supposed to be more normal size, but even then, he still has some height on Wolverine, well, of course, and then Iron Fist. And it's actually not that much shorter than the 90s style Sabretooth we have, but this has a lot more bulk. Neither of them have anything on the Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth, or Exiles. And then here it is next to the Toy Biz Marvel Legends first appearance Sabretooth. In its prime, it was a great figure, and I still like the torso and the fur piece up here. But the gangliness, the long legs, the high crotch, it's very Toy Biz. If you wanted to do this, you still have the elongated limbs, but the head is very much more first appearance. May leave this one like this and then have this one somewhere else as wild Sabretooth or something. Next, let's take a look at Siryn. Take this, rotate it back, and then rotate this around. And Siryn, much needed for the X-Force shelf. I'm told this uses the Shriek body with the double elbows and pinless joints, but I don't have that figure. I do notice that there is some reuse from Boomer, who may come here. It's got the same ridge right here at the mid-torso joint. Either way, it makes for a nice female body. Got some separate wrinkled boot top pieces, and that's the same at the wrist with the gloves. Although those seem to be glued down. Up at the head, again, it's a case of I didn't like this face in the promo images. Now that I have it in hand, it's not as bad as I thought. There's some green eyes, red lips, the orange reddish hair. Not a lot of paint there. I would have liked to seen a wash to bring out some of that curly hair detail. Plus it's in action mode. I'm just airing all my toy pet peeves today. This would have been great if there was an open mouth screaming head, which is essentially Siryn's power. This face, I would have liked a relaxed head. That would have helped keep the cape down, like you could fold it here, and then push the hair back if the hair was down, and it would hold it in place. At the same time, I've seen a couple of customs and like some WWE figures where the females with open mouths come off as kind of blow-up dolls. Maybe that's what they were afraid of here? I still would have liked to seen an attempt at it. Speaking of the cape, it's that same material we've seen with Storm several times. It's almost a vinyl? I don't know. It's a material. It's some kind of substance. It's darker on this side than it is this side. This is definitely the inside. But with it like that, you could see that here. And once you get it into her flight pose, which is usually like this, all you can see is the inside. So I'm going to take the hands out, and then I'm going to heat up the torso, pop the arms, and flip this around and see what happens. Okay, it's either the fact that it's inside out now, or the heat slightly warped it, but I can't get it to lay down like I was just doing. Oh no, I had it like this, didn't I? There we go. Then from the front, you see this, and once you bring the arms up, it's the darker color. Because who cares what the back looks like? Maybe you want to pin that there, but oh yeah, you'd lose that. Pin it right there. May have to do some more customizing. Going over articulation, there is a, hey, let's discover this together. Oh my God, it's a ball with a hinge in the neck. Hair gets in the way of up, but they're still down. Lots of tilt, side to side. Arm pins into the torso, rotates all the way around, but you're gonna start twisting cape if you go all the way around. Hinges out to the side, bicep swivel, double elbow, all the way. Swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. Dumbbell or ball joint at the mid-torso, very nice hula hoop. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, back, out. Does she win this wave? It's close. Swivel at the thigh, double knee, it's so close. Hidden by the cape, bing! Bing! Hinge at the ankle goes back, forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, you pop out the fists. Be careful, this goes through the hole in the cape. Plug in these spread out hands. Makes for a bit more of a dynamic pose, maybe? Yeah, makes flying not so fisty. Yes. Siryn stands at about 6 inches up to, well, the top of her hair. Not that curl, but the top of her hair, which would put her slightly over 5 3/4. Works great next to other X-Force members like Sunspot and Cannonball. Next up, let's crack open Maggott. Okay, Maggot's another one of those characters that I don't know a lot about. If you'd shown me this, I would have went Maggott, but his time in the comics was when I was out of the comics, and I've never went back and read those. This is one of those cases where I like the figure so much that I may have to backtrack and see what's going on with him. This figure is reuse of this Hercules. At least the torso, the crotch, and the legs have the same wrinkles and texture, have the same boots on, different knee pads, which is cool. It changes it up a bit. Feels like the same shape of the arm was used, but then they sculpted the rolled up sleeve right there and the texture up on the shoulder, and then the veins don't match on the forearms, even though the shape is pretty much the same. Well, the elbow isn't the same shape, and they changed it to pinless, so maybe they went all out and gave him new arms. But new hands with the fingerless gloves. It's not just a gloved hand with fingers painted. There's the new jacket overlay, trench coat, and then the shoulder pads are a separate piece tabbed in. So when you move the arm, it's going to get up and out of the way. The yellow matches here to the discs on the outside, which seems like a very 90s thing. There's no practical use for that. It just looks cool. There's some pockets on the jacket, some buttons. This belt's a new piece too, floating here over the torso. And even though these pants and boots are Hercules, it still works here. The straps, again, breaking back to the 90s, let's throw some straps and some buckles and some discs. I don't like that the torso's just painted on though. The belly button shown through, there's the nipples. I get it, but with this new and this new and this new and this changed, it would have been cool to have a shirt sculpt under there. Then there's the head. And it brings that yellow color in again to tie in with the rest of the costume. And I like how the eyes just peer out at you. Looks like the white of the teeth is still showing some blue in the edges, and it defines them pretty good. Then there's the white tuft of hair on the front of the head. But since this is a plastic trench coat, you are going to run into, well, not so much forward because it's open, but to get like down on one knee or running poses, it's going to be a bit stiff. Also, looking at pictures, I noticed that Maggott sometimes wears sunglasses, so I dug out my G.I. Joe Destro sunglasses. It goes behind the ears, on the nose, kind of high there. That doesn't look bad, but at the same time, I hate to cover up those eyes. Going over articulation, oh, what could it be? Oh, it's a ball with a hinge in the neck. Look up, looks way down. A little tilt, side to side. Arm pins into the torso so you can rotate all the way around to get that out of the way. Hinges up, swivel at the bicep right above the cuff. Double elbow, not bad for a big guy. Swivel, hinge. Hinge mid-torso. Oh, that's a lot of crunch. It's fighting soggies all day. Little arc back, but again, that's going to get in the way. Swivel at the waist, can be hidden with the belt. Ball coming out to the hip, great range forward. Out. Oh, he's contender. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Lot of wrinkles there. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes all the way back. Almost all the way forward. Front facing pin for rocker. For accessories, there is Eenie and Meanie. And yeah, I'll look that up. They're kind of gross. If I found this in a hotel shower, I would be like, I need a new room and a new hotel. There is some flex to them, so you can open it up and get it around the arm. That's where the promo picture showed. But I guess you could do anything you want. The other one is shown up here. At first I thought there's no peg, there's no way to stick it on there. But because of that flexiness, it almost goes down and then grabs on. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna knock it off if you really hit on it. That's way better than I was expecting. Maggott stands at 6 7/8, which gives him a size advantage over other characters. He can even take on some of the big boys. Next up, let's look at Havok. Ooh, and this is the one that tickles my nostalgia bone the most because we're going classic X-Men. Well, maybe not just classic. I think he's worn this costume in more modern times, but to me, this is back when there was a lot of sibling rivalry. This body is reuse of the Sunfire and Scarlet Spider body. I don't remember which came first, but this is the one I had on hand. And with the colors on the Scarlet Spider, it's easier to tell that there is a couple of problems. Again, with the duck feet, and the shoulders seem a little low. It works for Havok because there's not a lot of design to his costume. It was always just that black nothingness with some discs flying out, some circles. Plus, bringing Scott back in, it differentiates them a bit. I mean, they're brothers, but they shouldn't share the exact body. Of course, again, as I always say, I'd like to see Cyclops on a slightly bigger, broader build. Yeah, they look good together. Again, custom head. I like changing things up, I guess. And with that, there's not a lot to talk about here. The paint on the chest, I like that it's perfect circles, and then the blue kind of fades, almost like it's glowing. Little in your face, but it works. The head is where it's at though, and that's where it's always been with this costume. You see it on the comic page, there's nothing there except for the face staring out at you. This should probably be more of a chromey silver, but I'm okay with that. What breaks my heart more is the missing silver on the neck. That's always been another one of those visual things that jump out at you. I have found some covers where he was wearing this costume more recently that didn't have the silver around the neck, so maybe that's what Hasbro was going for. But you know me, what I'm eventually going to do, I'm going to break out a chrome pen, paint this, and then paint around there. Going over articulation, what could be going on here? Ball, hinge, neck, allows for up, get down. Not bad tilt, left and right. Butterfly, whoa, way back. Some forward. Arm pinned in, rotates around, hinges out. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow. Oh, nice. Swivel, hinge, ab crunch, not shabby. Arcs back, swivel at the waist, ball at the hip, forward, back, out. Oh, wins the wave. Swivel at the thigh, double elbow, not a problem. Swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle, back, forward, front facing pin for rocker. I wanted to get to the accessories. Look at these things. Oh, where'd they go? Where did they go? These are sculpted. There's several layers to it. The edges are raised. They feel more quality than the magic effects we've been getting for a while. Are they the same? No. The two hand ones look similar, but changed just enough. With that, you pull off the fist. Kind of rotates here, but if you push it up, kind of locks itself in place. Same thing on the other side. Then there's this bigger piece that actually plugs into the back. You can get even more effect to it. Because in the comics, there's always those circles going everywhere when he uses his power. There you go, better look at it. It's just so dynamic, it adds so much. Havok stands at about 6 1/4 to the top of his head, which is slightly shorter than the more modern version we got a while back. And then, I don't know what happened to the boots for the Toy Biz Havok, but here's that. And I know this is a later costume for Polaris, but this still works. I'd still take a classic. And then here's Cyclops in the costume I usually associate with this costume. And then let's finish off the standard figures with Vulcan. And it is nice to lay hands on a new base body. I'm already having ideas for customs or what they could use this for in the future. But like always, I have a couple of nitpicks. First off, it's a good, nice base body. All the musculature is nicely defined. The pecs seem a bit elongated vertically, but at the same time, that may just be me. Or it may be this blue costume line coming across here throwing me off. Coming down the arms, the bicep, nicely built. Get down to the legs, and they're legs. I don't know. With this being just a clean base body, I'm running out of things to say, like, well, there's the back, there's a foot, there's a fist, there's the ass. The thighs may be a little long in comparison to the shin. Or I guess you could say the knees sit low, but I don't know if it bothers me that much. Can't stop staring at them now. I do notice that the plastic used for the knees is a darker red than the upper and lower legs. It's the same for the elbow. In fact, the elbow and the knee matches the red on the torso, which is a slightly darker shade than the arms. Then the boots are in that swirly twirly plastic, which gives it that usual ethereal feel. Well, okay, we're up here at the belt too. It's got that marbleization, that shininess. Your eye is drawn there and there. And that ties into the yellow of the eyes. Of course, that's not the same sheen or metallicness, but it's yellow and it works with the rest of the costume. Nice hair sculpt, kind of flowing forward. The lips, he just looks mean. He's lithe, you know? He's built, but he can move. Oh, and I didn't even catch that it's got wrinkles like it's actual spandex over a human body. Not so much up here on the torso, though. Going over articulation, it's no surprise. There you go. Ball, hinge. There's a lot of room up there for so much up and down, but not as much tilt as you would think. Left, right. Got a butterfly joint that reminds me of the Havok body we just messed with. Back, forward, pin out to the arm, rotates all the way around. Hinges 90. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow. Pinless, of course. Great range. Swivel. Hinge. Torso crunch goes way forward, way back, but it opens the garage door. I went to turn the waist and I thought there was a cut, but I guess there's, oh, well, there is. Is that, oh, there we go. Okay. All coming out to the hip, kicks this high, goes back a little. Out, not the winner, but not bad. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up to, knee to spare. It would go past his ass if it went all the way. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, forward, front facing pin for rocker. Look at my muscles. For accessories, the hands pop out and you can replace them with, well, there's this claw hand and there's this kind of hand. Probably should have came with some effects, right? Vulcan stands at 6 3/8, which as a replacement for the Bucky Cat body, like they've been saying, is slightly large. But because there's a scale creep, most of the characters I get now on the Bucky Cat body, I think, well, they seem a bit tiny next to the rest of them. Because here's the Summers brothers together, and I definitely wouldn't complain about Scott from now on. Any more Cyclopses they want to make, put them on this body. Hell, I'd take a Havok on this body. I think this is supposed to be the new small to mid-size. I don't know. It's kind of neck and neck with the Reaver body, huh? Okay, I'm coming back around because I was in edits and then I realized I didn't even compare Vulcan with Darwin. So here's that, along with some retro goodness. Oh, but we ain't done. We still got to put the Build-A-Figure Bonebreaker together. Okay, looking on the back, it looks like that red right there is the front. And after staring at it for a minute, I realize you've got to put the engine and this and maybe even this in before you sandwich the two halves together. Because once you do that, they're locked in. That's gonna point forward, I know that, but you can't turn it backwards because there's a tab right there and there's a notch. So that goes there, and this goes there, and that goes there. Let's try to get this together without breaking too much. Gotta watch that catching on the engine. Line that up. Look at that. Put this here and plug the body in. Plug the body in. That's long, so it's pushing against it. As soon as I put that to the back, it plugged right in. Oh, and look at this bad boy. Right off the bat, the tank part is smaller than my mental image. At the same time, I appreciate the shelf efficiency. I can put this up and then display figures around it and still not be taking up a lot of depth. And no, I didn't forget those. I consider those accessories. I'm guessing this is a rocket launcher of some kind. Foot pegs? Really? So you can display other figures up on it. Have this machine gun sticking out the front that is on a ball joint so you can get side to side, some up, some down. The tank treads are separate and a little rubbery, and it almost feels like they would roll. In fact, I can get a little bit of forward and back, but these don't turn. That would have been neat, but at the same time it'd probably roll right off my shelf. Then these silver pipes coming out and about, just holding the side guards. Silver discs, some rivets sculpted around. The belt is painted on the motor. I noticed some silver right here, like a fender bender. Some right here too, but nowhere else. Even though it looks like there's some surface rust or weld spots where they fixed it. Maybe they painted over after filling in holes or something. Then there's the man himself. He's got a green shirt, have a band. Those are separate too. A little bit more bondage gear in this wave with the ring and the straps going up and over, and yeah, there's one in the back too. I love the mohawk, how it's unkempt, it's just flowing in the wind. There's some curl to it, but it's still straight up and down. The head shape does come off kind of babyish. If you get this close, you think, oh, he's so cute. The tongue is a great sculpt, though. I point that out because, I don't know, it seems a bit realistic. And then the teeth are kind of cool. Again, I'm not big on screaming faces, but if the bottom half of me was a tank, I'd be having a ball too. Woohoo! The sunglasses are pegged in so you can raise them up, have them on his forehead, and that exposes the eyes. But that just brings out more childlike quality. Again, it's neat, but that's going to be for me. Going over articulation, there is we saw it when I put it together, there's a ball with a hinge at the neck. Some up, some down, not bad tilt, side to side. Arm pegs in, rotates all the way around, hinges out. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow. It's kind of hard to hold the whole tank piece up. Comes up to about right there. Swivel, and then trigger finger hand is hinged up and down, very nice. The other hand has trigger too, is it? Yeah, it's up and down also. Ab crunch goes forward for that high speed chasing. Arcs back a little, and then I don't know if it's supposed to do that, but there is a little rotation. And then again, there's a ball joint at this gun. I'm calling it articulation. And if we consider that articulation, we have to consider this articulation. Again, we put this in when we sandwich the two halves, but that allows it to hinge up and out of the way, and there's a little storage compartment. Spoiler alert, there's extra hands. I guess you can store those in there. That way they're never too far from swapping them out. For accessories, there's these two barrels that I guess work as fuel tanks. They plug into these pegs back here. The peg holes are disguised as damage. There's a little sculpt around them, and that works into the other bullet holes he's taken. If these are fuel tanks, he's living life on the edge. There, or maybe I can turn it around and go there. That way it looks different across the way because they are the same sculpt. That also makes the tank part slightly more substantial, a little more weight on the back. There's this Reaver type rifle. I don't know if this is based on a real gun or whatever. I just know he shoots things with it. There's more silver right there. Look at that. Big old grip. Push and twist. Can hold it in both hands if he needs to, but he's going to be blasting most of the time. I'm going to have to find another gun for this side. And then there's also two fists, but I'm never going to use them. My Reavers are just using weapons all the time. Go there, Boom. Bonebreaker stands at about, and this is weird, I know, stands at about 5 7/8 to the top of his head. And then the tank part, front to back, all the way to the end of the tanks is about 6 inches. And makes an excellent centerpiece for the Reavers we already have, like Skullbuster and Lady Deathstrike. There's foot pegs there, so you can stand them like that, or maybe like this, or off to the side. I love the Outback X-Men. I love the Reavers, so I have customized the rest of the crew. Okay, I still need a Pretty Boy and a Donald Pierce that fits this style. And I'd made a Bonebreaker. This is more comic accurate. This is more what I remember. I took a lot of liberties with this one. I don't know. I like this, but I also like this. So at the end of the day, I get to add more X-Men to the shelf, and that makes me damn happy. After getting these out of the package, messing around, sitting on them for a while, I realized that there's not that many known names. Wolverine being the biggest, right? But I think a lot of people would also recognize Sabretooth. Havok, yeah, I wouldn't call him A-list, but he's also a known X-Men. But Maggott is kind of a deep dive. Or is Darwin a deeper dive? At least he had some movie exposure. And as much as I love the Reavers, I understand Bonebreaker may not be on everybody's list either. You had to be around that time. I think they've made appearances since then, but that was their heyday. Vulcan had some spotlight with War of Kings and all that, so maybe more modern readers. And then I don't even know where Siryn falls. She's X-Force, right? Everybody should know X-Force. It's hard for me to make those calls though, because even the characters I don't know, I can still pick out because handbooks and cards and posters and just exposure, people talking about them online, because I look for that kind of thing. But I can see how casual collectors may pass on this. As an X-Men collector, I get to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new characters that never had an action figure for them. In Marvel Legends, calm down, I know the 5-inch line. Havok, for me, is an upgrade. I like this look. I need to do some customizing, but that's my thing. That's what I enjoy. It comes down to, if you want figures, get figures. If you don't, don't. It's that simple. If you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. You know, even this compact, I feel like Bonebreaker is still going to take up more room than your average action figure. It can't be helped. That's the design. But at the same time, oh man, such a great design. Cut your body in half, stick it to tank treads with weapons and stuff. That's just 80s deliciousness.